Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve and today we're taking a look at how the aggressive wildcard 3.5 premiums fared in game week 17. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy with how it's going so far. We're recording this with the majority of games already being played. The only match remaining is Leeds versus Man City, which will be tomorrow at 9 AM New Zealand time. We're sitting at a current points tally of 61 points with an average of 46. All the tables have been updated, so these stats are correct at the time of recording. And 15 points above average is pretty solid. We're very happy with how this has started. And so I thought I'd go through the final changes to the players that I made from the last video, but also just a very brief description as to why I selected to go with a few players in the team. We'll start off with Kepa. We had some relatively late news coming through from Potter. In a comment, he mentioned that Mendy had missed a couple of training sessions and that Kepa was already back in training, and so even though he was flagged at the deadline for game week 17, that was enough for me to put him in the team, assuming that he would get his place back in the team under Potter. I think Potter prefers Kepa to Mendy, and we were immediately paid back with a clean sheet, 4 saves and 2 bonus points, so super happy about that. Kepa's actually only owned by 5.8% of all managers out there, so quite a differential, and at 4.5 million he is very cheap as well. Cancelo makes the squad. He's been in since game week 1 and I have no plans of getting rid of him so far. The reason I did choose to stick with him for game week 17 and forward is that Walker's return to fitness, in my eyes, I think means that Cancelo will get more license to get further up the pitch. In the first 9 game weeks of the season, when Walker was available and playing in the team, we've got a heat map here of João Cancelo, so game weeks 1 to 9 on the left hand side and game weeks 10 to 16 on the right hand side. And as you can see, when Walker is on the pitch, Cancelo gets a lot more license to get further forward and more involved in the attack, as you can see displayed by the heat maps below. And I am hoping to see that tomorrow morning, assuming that Kyle Walker is straight back into the team and that Cancelo gets the nod to start. We are expecting Cancelo to start though, because he is probably the most nailed on defender in the Man City defensive unit. I also went for the double up in Newcastle defence. I was on the triple up on Newcastle defence before the wild card. That did very well for me, and so I decided to still stick with a very well performing Newcastle team. 66% of all managers out there already own Trippier, and so we are not expecting to get any rank rises from any of the points that he pulls in. 12-pointer to kick off game week 17 is outstanding. He gets the clean sheet, 1 assist and all 3 bonus for his performance against a severely depleted Leicester side with I think about 4 red flags sitting in defence, and also James Maddison, who is the man that makes the Leicester team tick, was also injured for game week 17. And so the other person I've put in here is Botman. 4.4 million, super cheap, little to no attacking threat to speak of. He's just in there for the clean sheets and pulls away with 6 points straight away. It's great to see from Newcastle that they have basically picked up where they left off from before the break. And saying that, Almiron only took 8 minutes or so to score in that match against Leicester. An amazing goal as well. Great little work in from the wing with a 1-2. The through ball was sublime to him. His first touch was amazing to get him perfectly positioned to slot the ball home, and he just passed it into the far corner of the goal. He is severely underpriced at 5.8 million, and after the unlimited transfers, many managers have decided that that value is too good to pass up. He is now owned by 40% of the game at 5.8 million. He comes away with 8 points, with 1 goal, 1 clean sheet, and no bonus points in the 3-0 victory. He is probably one of the 2 keys. Well, he is not probably. He is one of the 2 keys in my team that allows the 3.5 premiums to work within this wildcard team. And so on to one of the first premiums in Kevin De Bruyne, which we haven't seen play in Game Week 17 yet, but in the EFL Cup match against Liverpool, he looked outstanding. Once I saw him play in that, I was a little bit iffy given his performance in the World Cup with Belgium, but he has just come back with a vengeance. He got 2 world-class assists in that EFL Cup match against Liverpool. He looked to be very far forward up the pitch, involved in a lot of attack, and that is the reason that I have gone with him over Mo Salah. I have left 0.2 million in the bank, which was enough to go from Kevin De Bruyne to Salah, should I want to or need to in the next couple of game weeks. And Salah has started his second half of the season very strongly with a goal and an assist. One of the most unlikely assists you will probably ever see from Salah in a goal-mouth scramble. He knocks the ball back to Virgil van Dijk, who hits a left foot volley through a crowded penalty area and manages to slot it far post. Great goal, not great for the FPL rank, as I think Salah is owned by about 30, is it 38? Just double check that. 33% of the game came away with 12 points from Salah, so a double-digit return from Salah. We are just hoping that De Bruyne can keep pace with that. We also went with Rashford over Martinelli, so I have sold Martinelli, making a 0.1 million loss on him. Did a bit of a hokey-cokey with Martinelli in the first half of the season, and so I didn't have a hell of a lot of value tied up in him. The opening 3 fixtures for Manchester United just looked too good to pass up, and so we decided to go Rashford over Martinelli to try and catch a bit of rank gain, as Martinelli is very heavily owned as well. He is one of the EO players that I have decided to go against in order to try and boost my rank. Currently owned by 47.6% of all players, Martinelli. But Rashford, sitting down at 28.8%, was one of the highest transferred in players for Game Week 17. I think he came in with a little over 1 million just transfers in for the round. Actually, this is going to show me sorted by transfers in for the round. Why did that not work? There you go. Yeah, it's going to show me the new stats. Unfortunately, that's a shame. It was just before the deadline. Do they have a previous round in here? Doesn't look like they do. It's annoying. He was transferred in by over 1 million managers for Game Week 17 because of his kind fixture run and his very kind pricing, down at 6.7 million. He was listed at 9 million last season, so a severe drop in market value at the outset of the season, and a lot of managers have picked up on that and brought him in for his 14-point haul against Nottingham Forest, which is great. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist, and picked up all 3 bonus which is awesome to see considering I went with him over Martinelli. Martinelli did score, but only came away with 8 points for the game week. So we have made a bit of rank gain there. Next on the pitch was Andreas Pereira at Fulham. The reason I put him in as starting was twofold. One was I wanted to have McAllister for a couple of reasons. He is sitting on the bench but was red flagged as out for game week 17 and game week 18. So I've put McAllister on my bench knowing that he wouldn't be playing the first two games, but I do want him for the potential double that will be coming up in, I think, game week 19 or 21. There's the potential for Brighton to play one of their catch-up matches. Excuse me. But from game week 21, Brighton's fixture run is just incredible. They've got Leicester away, Bournemouth at home, Crystal Palace away, Fulham at home. Okay, Newcastle away is a bit of a tricky fixture. West Ham at home is probably also a little bit of a tricky fixture. And then they've got Leeds away. So from 21 to 27, it's a pretty good run of fixtures. They then have Manchester United at home and then Brentford at home, all up until game week 30. And at 5.4 million for McAllister, it's only selected by 3.2% of the game as well. He's on penalties, and out of the first 16 game weeks in which Brighton actually only had 14 games, McAllister had picked up 5 goals and 4 assists. So 9 attacking returns in 14 matches is pretty good going, even for like a 7 to 8 million pound midfielder. This guy's down at 5.4 million and is the other key that actually unlocks the 3.5 premium wildcard strategy. With a rotating option of Andreas on the bench. And the reason I was quite comfortable in playing Andreas was that there was late breaking news that Mitrovic was unlikely to play in game week 17, and so I was like, awesome, that means that Andreas is probably on pens. He does have a fair share of set pieces as well, and even though they did win 3-0 against Crystal Palace, he unfortunately did not get any returns in that match. He did hit a great free kick, but the goalkeeper did save it. And so Mitrovic did actually make the start of game week 17, and in the 3-0 win, he actually came away with 3 attacking returns with 1 goal, 2 assists, and 15 points, which I have seen sitting on a couple of managers' benches out there, which would be a little rough to see 15 points sitting on your bench, but hey, I guess it is what it is. We've got Haaland, captain. My notes down here is just very short and sweet, no brainer, nothing much to talk about there. So Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland are 2 of my 3 premiums. The third premium was Kane. My notes were before the Spurs fixture that Kane will be determined to play well after the penalty miss at the World Cup. So I was expecting to see a performance reminiscent of KDB's first game back for his club after his disappointing World Cup. It should be noted that Kane is on 4 yellows, but he will be well aware of the fact that he's on 4 yellows, and so I'm expecting to see a very disciplined performance from Kane over the next couple of games, so he can get through the 19 games without serving a suspension. I doubt very much that Kane would want to compound his World Cup struggles or disappointments with a suspension early on the season. He will be very keen to avoid that. In the game, though, Spurs did not look very well, they didn't look very good, to be completely honest. The first half was an absolute mess. Kane came away at half-time with the least touches on the pitch out of both teams, including all the goalkeepers. It was a bit of a nervous watch that first 45 minutes because I am banking on Kane to return quite heavily in order for this 3.5 premium wildcard to make sense, and in order for me to be rising up the ranks. He scored an amazing goal. He made it look super easy and calm when it was anything but. It was a great delivery in. He is sitting about 10 yards out from goal between two defenders, rises above both of them and nods the ball far post, making it look super easy when it was anything but. That is the clinical Kane that we are after. He only had a small handful of chances in the match and managed to sink one of them. He also unfortunately hit the crossbar where it was a ball whipped in where he got his head to it before Raya, who had come out to try and claim the ball. He directed it towards goal. Unfortunately, it hit the crossbar square on. There was an open net at the point, obviously, because Raya had come out. And if that goal had gone in, it would have been, well, Kane picked up 1 bonus point in the match. And so with that extra goal at that point in the game, it would have also been the winner for Spurs. So he would have grabbed the extra 2 bonus points, making it a 6-point goal. Unfortunate, but hey, given the performance that Spurs put together, you can't be complaining too much about a 7-point return from Kane. And then my half a premium, Darwin Núñez. Don't know if you really want to call him a half a premium, but given the price point, he had a frustrating game to watch. He had his fair share of chances to shoot. Some of those he opted to pass when he clearly should have taken a shot. One of them was he was bearing down on goal, one-on-one situation with the goalie where you should pretty much be always shooting there unless you have an easy layoff to your teammate. He did not have an easy layoff. There was a defender coming back to cut off the ball. Chooses to go for the pass instead and does not get that assist. He then also very late in the game, he was involved in the winner. Is it the winner? Sorry, it wasn't the winner. It was the goal that gave them the comfort blanket, the third goal. Takes the ball wide. Looks like a driven cross sort of shot. I'm pretty sure he was crossing the ball. Goalkeeper gets a hand to it and palms it out straight to a Liverpool man who puts the ball in the net, and Darwin does not get given the assist for that. That is something that I will not understand about the game of FPL. We get fantasy assists for guys getting brought down in the box and earning a penalty. There's other types of fantasy assists that are available in the game, but for some reason a decent shot or cross that touches the goalkeeper or is saved is not actually awarded as a fantasy assist, and so Darwin only comes away with 2 points. My notes for Darwin was that he shoots often, he is not very clinical, he needs that volume of shots in order to score, much like Salah actually. Salah is also not a very clinical finisher. He often needs quite a few shots to come away with his goals. And so we saw exactly what we thought we would see from Darwin. Lots of opportunities. Unfortunately, he wasn't lucky enough to sink anything, and so he is one of 2 players in my squad that have played and blanked, which, all things considered, is pretty decent. On the bench, we've got Ward as a very cheap playing goalkeeper option that I'm pretty sure everyone probably has now. No, he's actually still down at 31.8% of ownership in the game, which is quite surprising. As I mentioned, McAllister's on the bench. We decided to go with Bueno as well. I did do a video where I mentioned some things that I was worried about for Bueno. That video was released before they played their last match before game week 17, and the new manager, Julen Lopetegui, in that final match for Wolves, played Bueno from start to finish. He got the full 90 minutes. And at that point, I thought, right, that's good enough for me. 3.9 million for a 90-minute player playing in a Wolves team that is typically pretty defensive, although they haven't been so far this season. Maybe a new manager will turn them around. But at 3.9 million for a play like a 90-minute man, more than happy to chuck that on my bench. He did, though, only make 58 minutes in this match, so he didn't even make it through to the 60-minute mark, and Aitnori did come on for him, and I believe Aitnori was was involved in that second goal from memory. I didn't watch this game. I think it was on at the same time as the Newcastle match, which I was watching. I'll just quickly pull it up. Was it Aitnori? Pretty sure it was. Yeah, he scored the winner. Came away with 6 points, which means Bueno is probably maybe a little bit more of a risk sitting on my bench, but he would probably typically be my second or third bench member anyway. I opted to drop Nico Williams for Bueno for the 0.1 million saving, but also because Serge Aurier I thought was going to be quite a bit of competition for Nico Williams in the Nottingham Forest team, and so I think Wolves are probably going to be a more defensive unit than Nottingham Forest as well, and so that's why we went there. And then I also picked up Nathan Patterson at Everton for 4 million as well, another cheap bench player which you have to scrimp and save in a 3.5 premium setup, and that is how we have done it. A couple of notable mentions of players that were missing from this team. There were some players that I feared out there, and the player that I put at the very top of my list of players that I feared the most was Reece James at Chelsea. 5.8 million, a super attacking player from defence in what should be a pretty defensive team at Chelsea. And watching the Chelsea game, I was noticeably worried at points of that game. James was in and around the box doing bits, but the reason that I did decide to go against him was the fact that he was coming back from a pretty severe injury. He'd been out for a long time, and also I didn't quite know how he was fitting into the Potter system yet. I don't even think Potter knows how the Chelsea system is going to line up with their strongest 11 yet. And unfortunately for James, he looks to have gone off with an injury in the 54th minute, I think, of the game, somewhere around there, giving a fair few managers out there a bit of a headache, because I know that he was in a lot of wildcard teams. I'm not entirely sure what people are going to do with James. This may actually force an early transfer for a lot of managers out there that do own him. We have no idea of how severe the injury is yet, or even if it is it a new injury, or has he re-injured that muscle that he was trying to come back from. He could be out for a while, who knows. He might only be out, maybe it was just a little niggle, or maybe he was nursing the injury himself and thought it was just best to come off, who knows, but we will see what happens there. Martinelli was also on my list of someone that I was quite worried about not owning, very high ownership, and in a very attacking Arsenal team he could put up some very high returns, which could very heavily detriment my rank. And the other one was Phil Foden. We will wait and see whether or not he actually gets a start tomorrow. If he does start against Leeds, I am super scared of him because he is a walking double point magnet. He is going to get heaps of goals and assists in this attacking City squad if he gets the minutes, but it was the minutes it was the assurity of minutes that Kevin De Bruyne seemingly offers overfill Foden as to why I have tried to avoid full Foden completely. Let's wait and see what happens in that Leeds fixture tomorrow. So just a short recap. Well, actually not that short, 25 minutes. Hopefully we got through that quick enough. If you did manage to make it this far through the video, please do consider giving it a like. And if you are new around here, hit that big red subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified about more FPL content coming your way. And until next time, I'll see you again soon. Happy New Year.